be the most involved. And this is where students start writing their personal statements and start asking for recommendations. I personally think that teachers can be involved in both. Personal statements are a bit difficult for students to start with. So we were having this conversation with one of your students' parents and with Archana. They don't necessarily know how to best tell their own story, because they might, first of all, not realize how good they are at certain things or what's valuable about their experiences. And then, of course, there's also the bit in which the writing is difficult, right? And having in mind what the university expects from them is difficult. So we give them examples. For example, if I pull up one of the annotated sample essays here for, say, Columbia, they will be able to see the statement that a successful student has written. So a successful student means a student that has actually gotten into the university, right? So they can start from there. We also have highlighted some parts of it. I don't think you can see it very clearly. Yes. Yeah, okay, you can. So it's in blue, right? If they hover over it, they also see why have we highlighted this bit, what is good about that piece of writing, so they can really learn from here. So you can redirect them here. Maybe you can help them also take a look at their writing. Yeah, so they can look at examples and then they can start writing, and they can interact with either Archana or potentially those of you that want to help them directly on the personal statement. So what happens is that it opens a space that is a little bit like a Google Doc, a shared document, where both the student and whoever has the admin account can type in, leave comments, and suggest changes in this kind. Now you see a lot of tests in Latin, but basically you see that I commented on there, right? So I'm leaving comments for the student to change parts of his personal statement. So this is one way. The other way in which, of course, you can help them is by writing recommendation letters for them. They will probably send you recommendation requests. I'm sure you receive quite a lot of those every year. How many recommendation requests do you receive every year, more or less?
7 to 8.
7 to 8, okay. Right. And so until now, how have you been? Basically, were you passing them on to the counselor, or were you sending them back to the student? How did it work?
We sent to the coordinator.
To the coordinator, okay. So you would put together a PDF and send it to the coordinator, and then coordinator would have to send it to the counselor, I'm guessing, right? And then the counselor sends the document to the universities. So the good news is that we cut the middleman, so it gets done directly on Bridgeview. Students requested, you write it, you upload it, and Archana will see it directly on Bridgeview, and she can send it out when it's time to send the application together with all the other documents. So I'm gonna pull up an example of the email that she got when a student requires a recommendation letter, so you can just get an idea of how that looks like. So it looks something like this, right? You get the message of the student, which they can personalize and let you know if there's something important that you need to pay attention to. And then you have a button that says upload your recommendation letter. This is a link where you have to do two things. Once you have written the recommendation letter, you upload it as a PDF. So the good news is that you don't need to reduce the size of the file or anything on Bridgeview. You can upload as big of a file as you need, but it has to be a PDF. The other bit that needs to be done is to fill out this form. This is particularly important for students that are applying through the common application. So this is normally the US. The common application requires the teachers to fill out and to answer certain questions. Is an additional form that goes together with the letter of recommendation. So if you fill it here, you do not need to go on the Common App. That will be automatically saved in our system, and we send it out together with all the rest. So again, for you, it also means that you don't need to go on Common App and do that on Common App for students. So it should make things a little bit easier.
Madam, just one step back, please.
Yes? Do you want to see the email?
No. Where you went to the, upload the recommendation. Okay.
Yeah?
Got it.
So basically, if the student wants a letter of recommendation from you, they're basically emailing you from Bridgio. And like you will receive this email, it will have the Bridgio name, the student's name, and the link you need to upload. Yeah. And so once you have uploaded the document and submitted the form, the student sees an updated status on their account. So if I go here, where is the student? Right. If I go here where I see complete in green, it's because a teacher has uploaded that recommendation letter. And so this is the second bit in which you will get mostly involved. Right. Do you have any questions so far? It's okay.
Madam, how if one CBSE student is just not at all familiar to this? Ask us what's the possibility, what is the step that we have to start with. CBSE student, so does not have the glad background or any background, so how we can guide them?
So it does not have any background as in how to choose a university or like
foreign universities.
Just, you mean if you have a student that does not know where to start from?
Yeah,
right?
where to start from.
Okay, so the best way would be to start from, especially if he's still in grade 11 or so, to start from the strategy advisor and start understanding a little bit more about themselves. We're talking about that, right? The whole process? Yeah. Yeah. So that would be one way to start with the strategy advisor, understand a little bit more about what they're good at and what they're not good at, what they should be improving on, and looking at careers, because ultimately the education path that they choose should lead with the career that they eventually want to get into. It doesn't have to be like super defined.
Not that point, should they have IELTS or
okay, so you mean like,
which is passed?
Right. So the entry requirements for universities vary broadly. So first of all, they need to know which universities they want to get into. And once they get there, they figure out they need an SAT or an IELTS or a TOEFL. Then they have to take the steps to prepare for those tests. Bridgio doesn't personally do that part. It's not part of our business yet. We have a session where they get a little bit of guidance about test management because we're working on a partnership with Kaplan, but it's really just descriptive and informative. So at the moment they're probably better off consulting either you, the teachers, or Archana, so that you can redirect them to where to take the tests. Does this school do the SATs? Yeah. Another bit that they might ask quite a lot is the SAT really necessary, right? And the problem there is that they have to take the SAT pretty early, actually, and at that point they might not know which universities they want to get into, and that makes it even more difficult to answer, because if you don't know which university they have to get into, we don't know if you need the SAT or not, right? It's kind of a vicious circle. So I know that some universities in India actually are starting to accept the SAT.
Right.
So that could be a great advantage for students that are thinking both India and the US. If you're already thinking of those two countries, you might as well take the SAT because you might be, you might have an advantage ultimately. If they're very like Europe focused, it's more the exception than the rule. It's more about like the final transcript, the final grades. So, for example, in the UK, it's more about getting those grades finally in so that the conditional offer, because it's usually a conditional offer, can be secured. Yeah. So to answer your question, they do have to figure out which universities to go first, at least the short list, so that at least you have an idea of the countries they're going to, and you can kind of guess what they will need for the countries they're going to. Yeah.
Ma'am, I have my own doubts.
Yes.
Supposing a student seeks an admission into a foreign university,
Mm-hmm.
the university process the admission? Will it just give the admission directly into the university, or affiliated colleges to which the university is affiliated?
Right. So that again depends on the application system for different countries. In the UK, it would go to the colleges because students normally apply to a program or a subject, right? In the US, it's at the institutions level. Then again, every university deals with admissions a little bit differently, so it might not be exactly like that.
So because
Yeah.
every university will have like a number of colleges affiliation to that particular university, right? So will the university forward the students to those colleges to which?
Ma'am, it's not like that. The affiliated